Okay, we're recording.
Okay. Hey everyone, this is DVM Divas, the podcast, episode number 1. Today, our hot topic is posting on social media and getting ratted out for it. Let's go over to Anne, who's going to have... Oh crap, can I do that again? Because I don't know who's doing what.
Oh, now you are.
Okay. Hey everyone, this is DVM Divas podcast, episode number 1. Today we're going to talk about posting on social media and getting ratted out for it. On top of all of this, Anne is going to give her biggest mom fail, while Melissa gives her biggest mom win, and I'm going to reveal a clinic hack that you can use. Join us as we go beyond the stethoscope. Should I say hi?
You could say
so
welcome.
It's so weird because the pilot, I feel like we were just messing around and doing it real, but now it's like real. Okay. All right. Hey girls, welcome. How you doing today?
Hello.
Hello.
So I was searching through, social media, how we're all bored sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've been coming along these posts recently, which is kind of upsetting, that people are actually posting stuff about their life, about work, looking for help, looking for guidance. And then people on social media are actually screenshotting it and going back to either their spouses or their jobs and their bosses. And we've been seeing people actually get fired from it or, divorces. And it's terrifying because in reality, nothing's private.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've seen some of those same I've seen some of those same posts, and I don't know if the ones who are screenshotting, I think some do intend to sort of tattle, and then I think some don't intend for the outcome to be what it is. And maybe they think it's a funny story, or they just want to share it with they think they're only going to share it with maybe other veterinarians or some of these private, quote unquote, private groups. But once you screenshot, I mean, gosh, it goes everywhere. And I don't know.
It's like, I feel like when you hit that post, it's never private again, even if it's up for a minute.
Yeah. And go ahead, Anne.
In kind of, talking about the topic my husband and I were visiting, because he's a very anti-online presence human, like he just doesn't like it, doesn't do it, anything. And that was his big point. Like, even if you're, you have no malicious intent, or you just need somebody to listen who gets you, it's out there. And no matter what your privacy settings are, no matter what, it's out there. And like, are you really comfortable with that? And the repercussions, I don't think we don't necessarily think about beforehand.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes people are so in the moment. Like, I've had times where I've been so in the moment and I'm so angry or I'm so upset that it's like, I just want to get help. And I just want somebody to, either console me or just verify my feelings. And I write it all out, but then I automatically delete it because I see what these people go through. And I don't know, like, how people could think that it's okay in a profession where, we're battling so much. And now we have to watch out for other people in our profession to make sure that they don't go against us.
That's the part that kind of breaks my heart, is that, we all, it's a wonderful point, Maria, that like we all are fighting things. We all have our demons. We all have our hard times. And, really, we always think of it as the public against us. And it's not. Like, there are times when it's us against us. And it's just, I don't know. It makes me sick at night, I guess.
Yeah, and I give props and a shout out to the admins of, let's just say, some of the Facebook groups and things like that, because I think they are really vigilant about trying to protect that and prevent that. And I think that's it's almost like a betrayal of trust. And honestly, I've seen some where it's almost like it's so backwards and ironic, because the reason we have these groups to begin with is for this camaraderie and the support. And yet sometimes I'm afraid if I say the wrong thing, whether it's I maybe admit that I practice something a little bit differently, or it's something just personal, that I might get mocked and ridiculed in the form of a screenshot that will show up on a different Facebook group. I think that's one of those things. It's like you say something on one forum, somebody reads it and goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe she said that. It gets screenshotted, and then it shows up in another Facebook group. And I use Facebook. I know there's more than just Facebook, but that's just my kind of personal experience at the moment. But and then it gets screenshotted and it's like, oh my gosh, can you guys believe that somebody said this? And they may or may not black out the name, which doesn't really make it better, because the point is, it just defeats the whole purpose of why are we tearing ourselves apart? Why are we being the mean girls? Why are we, like you said, these are the things that we're fighting against, and yet it's happening. And sometimes I feel like it's the junior high clique.
Yeah.
We're adults and we should be better than that.
We should be better than that. And I feel like the admins are really good at saying you can post anonymously, you can do this. But at the same time, you send them an anonymous post 3-4 days later, that's when it's getting posted.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's the admin's fault, because this is a free thing. They're doing it out of the kindness of their hearts to try and help you. But it's not an instantaneous thing that you need. And I don't know if it's, the smaller groups, there's less bad apples, if that's what you want to call it. But what I've been seeing is, as the groups skyrocket and grow, we see it a lot more because there's obviously more people in there. But it's like, how do you stop this when you need that instant, help?
Yeah. I think it kind of goes two ways. One, if you're the one who think this, don't ever screenshot. I mean, just don't do it. You might think that it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to mean it, but just have a zero tolerance policy. Like, you are just not going to do it. And then on the flip side, I think if it happens to you, I mean, and there's a big difference. I mean, there's ones that if it's something that gets out on the public eye and it could be used against somebody's job or license or marriage or significant relationship, that's a whole different story. But if it's something that's maybe a little bit more trivial, I guess, maybe try to have some thick skin about it. I mean, you shouldn't have to, but just for your own personal sake. Or try to resolve it one-on-one if you know who did it. If you can maybe personal message that individual and say, hey, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you didn't intend for this to happen, but this was the repercussions of it. And if you could do that personally, as opposed to blowing it up and causing a big sort of war, I don't know, I guess.
Well, that's like blowing it up too. I always think it's interesting because there's instantly this lynch mob that forms, which is kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's super helpful. Like, yes, somebody has my back. I'm not alone. I have friends. Then at the same time, like we were talking about earlier, like, you never really know the intention of the person that did it. Maybe the intention wasn't, I want to break up a marriage and I want to get you fired. Maybe the intention was, we're mutual friends. I just wanted to check in and make sure you were okay. Is there anything I can do to help you? But we don't know which way to go. And the lynch mob just forms and starts going. And it's like, oh Lord, like maybe we got to reel it back just a scratch.
I feel like any part of any social media that you say one thing and it just blows up beyond what you can do. I think the biggest thing is that people have to realize that our lives are not private anymore. And, as much as I'm not a private person, it's just my personality. But like, if you are a private person, there's got to be a way that you got to understand that these people, while they may seem like they are your friends and we are, you know, we try to help each other and we try to be there, they're not going to keep a secret.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you don't know them one-on-one. And that's a big thing with me, is like, I don't know the people on these groups, you know, like I want to look for certain things, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you my whole life story, and I'm not a private person.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I think like we have to have some sense in there. And sometimes I wonder with social media and the internet, we're losing the time away from people. I don't see friends as much as like my parents did back when I was a kid. When I was 5 years old, I was running around the neighborhood and my parents were drinking wine on the back deck with their neighbors. Like, I don't do that, you know?
Right.
We're very like computerized people now. And I feel like we still want that connection with people, and we have to try and get it some other way.
It's like I tell my kids, my oldest daughter is 14, and I try to kind of drive home all the time. Nothing is sacred on the internet. Nothing is secret on the internet. And so if you have something that you wouldn't want me to hear about or your grandma to hear about, don't post it. Because
literally,
it, like you said, Maria, we would like to think that, and some of us do have personal friends and classmates and things on these pages, but nothing is private. Nothing, so if you actually have something that could ruin your marriage, don't put it on the internet. Ever.
Yeah.
So first you need to think about that. I think the ones that really bother me the most are when somebody may be posting, I need help with a case, and they're just saying, here's what I'm up against. And then all of a sudden that lynch mob mentality does sort of build, like, I can't believe you're practicing like that. I can't believe you do this or you do that. When the reality is none of us practice in each other's shoes. None of us have the challenges that we each face every day, and we try to summarize it into a few sentences on a post online, but you can't say, oh, and by the way, I had, this client is an asshole and they're always an asshole. And, I just, forgive my language, but, or I don't know. We can't judge one another for something that gets said in 3 sentences on Facebook. And we can't make claims that, oh, I would never do that. Well, you're not in
that position.
Right. And so let's not, and then let's not tattle and report to the board. I think that's even happened a couple of times. Like, whoa.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear that one. People were reported to the board for this?
I can't really pinpoint any specific references, but I've just seen in some conversations and comment threads of times that has happened.
That's insane.
And that's just.
Well, and like you're saying, I mean, it's probably a little bit more common in, ag or rural medicine, but living out in the boonies, you don't always get dental radiographs.
No.
And which I understand is completely validly standard of care in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I know if you are faced with this 20-year-old poodle who has, a murmur and all these horrible teeth in its head.
Yeah.
And all the owner is asking for is less painful days, whatever days they've got left. They want them to be less painful. I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, I can't do it. I don't have films. Like, I'm going to try to do the best I can with what I have. Granted, are we going to have serious conversations about, I don't have everything, I'm going to do the best I can, blah, blah. Yes, that whole conversation is going to occur. Yeah. But, am I going to refuse treatment? No, you're going to do, and that's, I think, Melissa, your point that, we aren't all in back east. No offense, Maria.
Wait a minute. I just got dental x-rays, by the way.
But I mean, we're not all in the middle of the city with all the things and all the bells and all the whistles. And, being in rural America, I probably did a lot of things my first year out of vet school that maybe I tried to refer. I tried to send them out and say, hey, like, I've only done this on a cadaver. If you really want a better success rate, you should probably go see a big kid. You know, I've done this a few more times. But they were okay with the risk. And I did everything in my power to make sure it was successful. And sometimes I was, and sometimes I wasn't. When I wasn't, I fixed the mistake. We talked about it. Like, but don't judge or lynch mob somebody just because they don't have what you have.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. That's a big thing. I mean, like, I have all the bells and whistles that I could want right now.
I'm totally teasing.
I didn't always live on the East Coast. I only worked in anyway. No, but I worked in practices that didn't have everything, and that practice medicine that, a lot of people would be like, well, that's not standard of care, or that's not high quality medicine, but it's something that you do what you can with what you have. I don't have an ultrasound. I'm not able to get like beautiful, clean cysto sticks on those fat dogs. You do what you can. Right. And that's it. Yeah. And it's just, I feel like, we battle with clients and this and that. And, I don't know if it's because of the East Coast mentality, and I'll be honest with you about this. I didn't face it, and I was in the Midwest, but I don't know if it's the East Coast mentality that it's always a battle. But I feel like once we get to the profession, we shouldn't be fighting each other.
No.
Yeah. And it really upsets me that now I even worry sometimes on things that I post in certain groups, because I'm like, oh my God, is anybody going to come after me when I just ask a simple question? And it makes me question what groups that I can actually trust. And it's because the groups are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, I don't even want to say a word.
And fighting between the groups. Or, or like rivalry, or just sort of finger pointing between.
Oh my God. I see groups and they're like, did you see in the other group? Get over yourself. Come on.
I've said it once already. Are we in junior high, people? Like, are we not adults that we can't have different personalities and different opinions and
each one's different. Each group has different people. Each groups have different reasons for it. But I even see it in like the not the little groups, the non-vet groups. Let's say I even see that. It's always the other group, and I was like, or the big group, and I'm like, oh, get over yourself. Like, come on now.
Do you guys find yourself, because I find myself doing this, do you ever find yourself, do you post differently depending on which group you're posting in?
Yes, for sure.
Do you have a different vibe? Do you have a different tone? Because I certainly do. Yes. Each group does have its personality. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, because each group does have its own personality. And so, I mean, it's okay to sort of mold to that personality. But then what happens is sometimes somebody may post something that doesn't fit the group criteria, or doesn't fit the group
vibe.
Yeah, maybe that's a better word. And then they're sort of like chastised and ridiculed and said, well, this isn't the place for that. And well, all right, was it really that big of an offense that again, do we have to go all mean girls? And not that it's only girls, that's just the reference I'm using, but it kind of will put a bitter taste in my mouth, and I don't know.
I'm kind of with you, Melissa. Like, I kind of have a bitter taste, and I am more of a lurker in a lot of groups where maybe I wasn't initially. I still have a few that I'm like, okay, these are my peeps.
Yeah.
I feel safer. So, I can kind of edit, and I still feel even comfortable saying something, where in others, I'm just like, just going to sit here
and just scroll.
Right. Yeah.
I just feel that we shouldn't be ratting other people out. I just think that, you can tell people all the time it's not private. If you post it, if you hit that button, the whole world can know. It never goes away. And it honestly never goes away, because I can look at websites that I used to run that are no longer run, that I don't even have the domain for anymore. You know, I can still look at the internet at that point. So it really does never go away. And there's always going to be those people that will always post it. But I think at some point we have to be actual true adults to everybody else and know, either offer the support or just keep going. There's no reason to screenshot. There's no reason to go, guess what they did, or guess what they're having issues with. It's just catty. It's catty bullshit. And I'm sorry, but it is. It's just catty, and it just needs to stop. Yeah. And especially along us, how we are just totally, I feel like, especially with the internet and social media, this profession has just gone a whole nother way. And from when I started, and, you know, I guess you would say a youngin' from, you know, got people that are practicing 30 years. I'm practicing 8 years, but still, I'm still a youngin'. You know, from when I started, it's a completely different profession. So I think that at some point we actually really need to be responsible for what we're talking about and what we're putting out there from somebody else is saying, because sometimes people just need that outlet and they don't have it personally.
Yeah. A good friend of
go.
Oh, no, say, well, a good friend of mine, we text each other all the time. I mean, she's my best friend, and we will sometimes preface a text of, this is just a vent. I don't need an answer. I don't need a fix. I don't need a solution. I'm just venting because I need to get it out. And then it's just a purge, you know, and, you know, we just have this understanding that if we have a lead in of just venting, that's all it is. And we don't have to, you know, really supply anything else in return. And sometimes I wonder, maybe we need to have some sort of little code or something like that. It's like, look, and some people do, I've actually seen that, where they're like, look, I just need to get this out. So I'm just going to get it out. And, you know, and I think those are the ones where, if that's how it's worded, if that's how it's presented, honor that and respect that. And, you know, we don't have to necessarily fix the problem or tell them everything that they're doing wrong or why it's that way to begin with. Just go, hey, I hear you. You're in a crappy situation. I get it. Hugs. And move on, you know, and I guess that's my advice on that.
Yeah.
So, if that's okay.
So one final thought I just wanted your women's opinion on. Right. Was, I was, you know, visiting, I can say, with my husband, and just kind of preparing for a hot topic and wanting to get my ideas going. And he brought up a really good one, in that, what if the scenario happened where these posts were leaked to the general public? So either, you know, somebody got really mad and contacted a reporter, you know, the reporter got all the posts, and, or what if, you know, heaven forbid, like a non-vet got in, or non-vet, that sounds horrible, but somebody not in the veterinary profession, you know, got access to some of these groups. And I mean, what would that do? You know, what would that do to us as posters in a safe place, all of a sudden being exposed? Where, I mean, I know sometimes you say things that are like, oh, haha, tongue in cheek, but really aren't very nice. Like,
that's a big problem. Honestly, I've never thought about that in any group. Like, I know that there has been situations where non-vet people made it in, because when you have like even 2,000 people in a group, it's hard to, you know, see who's joining, who's not joining, to check everybody out. So I get it. But that is very scary. Like, God forbid we put a medical question up there and people are answering, and it's not even just the original poster that can be at risk. It's every single person commenting, or maybe even laughing, or, you know, eye rolling or something like that, you know, and that's a big problem.
Well, and this, you know, again, I give a huge shout of thanks to the admins, because I think the group admins are busting their butts to try to prevent that as much as they can. I personally have kind of seen comment threads where somebody questioned, the validity of a member and said, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't jive with the general, veterinary mindset. So, and I've seen people who have gotten deleted very quickly. And so it does happen. And that's a great point. It's just kind of goes back to that. Be careful what you say. You have to have your own internal filter to a certain extent. No matter what, you're going to be at some risk. And so you just have to be smart about it.
Right. You just have to be very smart about it. And, there's going to be those times where you just need to get it out there, but you need to understand that when you get it out there, you get it out there for the world to see, not just people in vet med, not just veterinarians.
Mm-hmm.
It can be your next door neighbor you're getting it out there for. And if you do see it, you need to understand you have to be an adult about things. You can't just go back to that high school phase. And I know, there's a lot of people that say when they come into a vet clinic, it can be cliquey sometimes. There can be some high school stuff going on because we work so close together.
Right.
But you have to be an adult and know that when somebody just needs to vent and get things out there, it doesn't mean to go to their boss or their spouse. And I think that's the biggest thing about everything, because we're never going to stop everyone from posting stuff. But when they do, they need to understand it is never going to be private. It will always be public.
For sure.
So let's go over to Anne, because I hear that she has a mom fail this week.
Oh my goodness, you guys. So it's definitely a mom fail. And it was really just the first one that popped into my head. So I'm sure someday there'll be much bigger fish to fry. But this is the one for the week. So I have, there's a group of us from vet school that did family dinners every week during vet school, which was awesome. But then now we've tried to get together about once a year, every year thereafter. So it's great. Not everybody can make it every year, but it's a different story for a different day. So we're there. Everybody is eating breakfast this morning. We do big family, mashup breakfast. It's awesome. Our middle child comes running up. Mommy, where's my water? I need my water. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm trying to clean up after breakfast. It's chaos where everybody's trying to pack up and leave. There's 6 little kids running around. No, I have 3 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 little kids running around, and then there's 2 big kids, and then there's all these adults, right? So it's chaos. And I'm like, yeah, hang on, give me a second. So I find a water that's even remotely our family's, and I'm like, here you go. She's like, Mommy, no, that's not mine. I want mine. And I was like, no, listen here, quit copping it too. Oh my God, throw a fit in front of everybody. Give me a gosh darn second, I'll find your water. And thank God it was the middle child, because she just stood there with her sister's water bottle in her hand and looked at me and was like, this big doe-eyed blink, Meanwhile, everybody stops eating.
Oh.
Nobody's packing anymore. The whole house is dead silent. And I was like, Mommy's really sorry. You were just making a point. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to die. I could throw this in a bowl and die. So we got the right water and it was okay. But of the 2 of us, she was definitely not the one throwing the fit.
Well,
it happens.
That story ended a lot better than I thought it was going to. I thought you were going to say that there was vodka in the water bottle or something.
No, we drank that already. It was all gone.
Here, have a mimosa. It's orange juice, I promise.
I was waiting for it until it was a vodka.
Make the drive home a lot quieter.
Mm-hmm. So that might be a mommy win. I don't know.
Well, then I think we segue nicely. Okay. Melissa's mommy wins.
Oh, man. All right, Melissa, what is your mom wins this week?
Okay, so I honestly at first thought it was going to be a mom fail. My oldest daughter, she recently went on the traditional 8th grader Washington, D.C., Philly, New York City trip. It was a big deal. And it wasn't going to work out for either me or my husband to go with her. And there was most of the kids had at least or had a parent that went with them, and it just wasn't going to work. And I was feeling super guilty about that. And because she is my most reserved child, my shyest child. But in the end, she went and she had a great time. And I feel like she grew so much in that trip. And I think that she gained some independence and some confidence because, just for example, we were talking about their time in New York City, and they went to the Statue of Liberty, and she said something about taking the subway. And I said, oh, I guess I just assumed you would have been on a tour bus and you would have taken a bus down there. She goes, oh no, Mom, the traffic was horrible. We would never have had time for that. We had to take the subway. Who are you, child, who's hardly left the Midwest in your entire life, and you're now lecturing me about New York City traffic? And so I felt like, that was maybe a bigger gift that we could have given her, is sort of having her figure her way and experience life without one of us sort of holding her hand, literally and figuratively. And I kind of had like a really proud mama moment and thought, all right, I think she's going to be okay.
You've done good.
Yeah.
You did really well. Although I'm very upset you did not come to the Philly area.
I know.
I may be look, I love New York. It's absolutely amazing, but we had to settle down by Philly. Mm-hmm. But I'm very excited to come.
Yeah.
But good job, girl.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. So let's talk about our vet hack for the week. Mm-hmm. I'm actually really excited about this one because I can't tell you how many times I'm grooving to music and surgery and I pull on that suture with the needle way too hard. And the needle breaks apart from the suture and I'm just like, oh my God. And I get so frustrated that I have to open a new pack. Well, apparently if you take a 22 gauge needle, you can actually feed the suture through so that way you don't have to open a new pack of suture. And is it bad that I can't wait to try this?
No, when you said that this was what you were going to talk about, like I was mind blown. Oh my gosh.
It's so simple.
Yeah. Like that's crazy. Why
did I do that in vet school?
All I can see is Maria in surgery tomorrow. Like, God, why won't this thing pop off? Like, they're ripping them off.
I'm like, because normally the techs know it happened when I'm like, damn it, I need more suture. And then they know she broke the suture again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm pulling
just
too
gonna
hard.
Be like, needles.
Yeah.
Needles.
So are we going to start putting some needles in our packs, or just, I guess if they're opened,
just, I guess, open it. Like to do with the suture packs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just so excited about this. And I don't remember who told me, but thank you for the next time so I don't have to open up that next pack.
So the next time we record, we're going to have to get an update and see how it's worked for everybody.
Yes. I have 2 surgery days until the next recording, so we'll see.
There you go.
So, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the DVM Divas podcast. We had so much fun today, and we actually challenge you to join us on social media. That way you can not only have conversations with us, but know when we record next.
And if you're really lucky, we'll screenshot what you say.
And we'll share it everywhere.
All over.
Yeah.
But we love to hear what you think. We want to know what you want us to talk about. So contact us on any one of our social media profiles. And that could be on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. We are the DVM Divas, and join us next week.